Greetings, my name is Tim Johnson. This is Recovery, Strength, Hope and Courage. This is the fourth and final part of a series of videos I've made this week about my story in addiction. And the reason for this video is to summarise everything I've learned over those years and put into practice into this recovery, which has been totally different than anything that's happened to me before. And I want to share with you what I've discovered during this recovery and over all the years really that I've been in addiction, and what I've put into practice to keep me sober and basically change my life in ways I wouldn't have believed imaginable 15 months ago. I am a person that I do not recognise anymore, a person that is content. And yes, I'm still a work in progress, and this is an ongoing thing. But I just want to share with you some of the stuff that I've learned along the way, if you like. And one of the other reasons I wanted to do this was for you to see really, and particularly those of you who are in early addiction, that this is such a progressive disease and how it escalates, not just when you relapse, which it does, because each relapse is worse. And by the way, don't be ashamed by relapses, because if anything, they've been a learning process for me along the way as well. Although it's taken me a long time to learn, hasn't it? You know, and it was 56 years old eventually when I learnt the final lesson, if you like, in the last video. And I just want you, particularly those of you who are young families, and that I don't want you to go through what I've been through in my life, if you like. Although in a way I'm very grateful, because it's allowed me the chance to change the person I am for the better, and go on a journey that makes me into the best version of me I can be, which is something that I would never have dreamed of at any time in my life, and I suppose addiction's allowed me to do that. But I just want you to understand really that it will take everything from you, as it took everything from me, and it almost took my wife and girls from me as well. Unfortunately, it was, they're very loving, kind and strong individuals, and they sort of stuck by a very thin string in the end, and allowing me back into their lives now. I'm rebuilding sort of relationships by showing them that I'm rebuilding, into that version of me that, is the best one, the most authentic one. And that's the way I can prove to them, only by continued sobriety and using the method I'm doing now will that continue. So please don't lose everything, because one thing's for sure, you cannot solve an internal problem with an external solution, whatever it is: drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, pornography, whatever it is. And unfortunately, we live in a very sort of individualistic world, which is very materialistic, consumerist society, and we're bombarded with images and what we should look like and what will make us feel better, and our self-worth is low, and we're very selfish. And addiction makes you more and more selfish, and in your own individualistic world, which loses connection with everything really. You're full of self-obsession, and and I've discovered all this. And really what the method I've used to formulate this recovery this time has been, I look back at my, and yes, it was bloody hell. Let me just tell you that it is hard work and requires massive self-discipline. It does. It's not something, no one's, as I said in the last video, no one's going to ride in on a big white Charger, and sort of save you. You have to save yourself. You have to change yourself. Change only can only be achieved by you. If nothing changes, nothing changes. It's simple as that. You've got to make the change, and you've got to be ready to. And I explained that in the last video. But you can do it. This is the thing. So I look back at all my last stuff. And I was in a really dark place, and you have to ask yourself the question: do you want to be consumed by the dark, or do you want to light a candle? And I wanted to light a candle. So yes, it was hard in early recovery, and I hadn't formulated this plan properly in early recovery. For the first 2 or 3 months, you're doing the right things, but it's sort of starting to make sense. But don't forget, guys, what I said to you: knowledge is power. So all the time I was learning from other people, and learning from people in the groups that have got some amazing people in the groups. I'm in Team Sober and Get Clean or Die. I know that's a radical name. Alcoholics in Recovery, the Recovery Family, Peace, Love and Recovery. All these different groups that and the Way Back as well. Sorry. Got some amazing people in them. Try and get amongst them. If you can't get to AA meetings, and if that's not your bag, like it wasn't mine, get amongst them. So I learned from as many people as I can, and people that made videos, and like I say, experts on various things, on diet, on exercise, on spirituality, on recovery and improving self-worth and mindfulness, and all these things I studied. But early recovery is a struggle, and look back at my other videos on that, because I started making them in early recovery, and you'll see the difference in the progression, and probably in some of my ideas as well. Admittedly, some of the things changed and progressed along the way, but I'm at a point now where what I'm using, I'm always learning. I try to learn every single day, but I looked back at my life, the life I've just told you about in those other 3 videos, and there were periods of time that gave me sobriety, and I look back at some of the things I was doing and unconsciously doing, as I said in the other videos, and there was a good long period when I had the children, when we had the 2 girls, and focused on a service business, a great big business, and also I discovered, running marathons for charity and helping people with cancer, and actually going into hospices and stuff like that, and diet and exercise unconsciously. All these things play a part, as you'll see in a minute. So I picked all this stuff out, what was I doing, and then looked at other people's recoveries, and used some of the elements. Yes, I did use some of the elements from the 12 steps, which are great, because it's a way of life that is, and some things are very, very important. You won't find, like I said, you won't find to an internal problem, you won't find an external solution. And we're all addicted to something these days. Like I say, sex, gambling, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, whatever your bag is. You have to heal inside, and now it's fine to go strong into withdrawal and early recovery. But the reason it never lasted in my life, and I went through these periods, like I say, of sobriety by doing certain things, but it wasn't strong enough. It didn't hold it together, because there are certain things that you've got to sort out. You've got to, which I'm going to share with you in a second, that you've have to sort out for any sort of strength of recovery and rebuilding your life. And finding happiness. Happiness is in all of us. You may not think so now. You might be in a black, dark place, but light that candle, because it's inside you. You've just got to find it, and you'll discover it by hard work and self-discipline. Yeah, but it's there by doing the following things. But the solution is never material stuff. I had stuff in my life, like all the stuff, the clothes, the cars, the jewellery, the houses, the money, all the rest of it. None of that's any sort of solution to anything. You might feel better to go and buy a brand new pair of trainers. It might make you feel better for 5 minutes, but you'll be back to square one. And it's the same, with addiction. You might go into recovery and do certain things, but only do certain things, like you start exercising and diet, which is bedrock of recovery, but foundations. But unless you do these other things, the connection things and all the rest of it, you will relapse. You won't maintain it, because you're not dealing with that problem, that disconnection and all the rest of it. And that hole inside of you that I talked about. Restless, irritable, discontent. So yeah, I took all these elements out from everywhere, from 12 steps, from people I listened to on podcasts, from the internet, from books I read, from individuals on YouTube, and I put together a recipe for the recovery, if you like. And the first thing of all you've got to deal with is you've got to forgive. You've got to deal with what's driving you from your past into this unhappiness that's underneath everything, that's underlying everything. So forgiveness, anger and resentment have got to be dealt with. You have to deal with it. And in here they tell you about writing an inventory, and I did something similar to that. although I didn't confess it to. Some of it you heard during the videos I made, I suppose. But initially, early in recovery, I wrote down everything, that was driving me, that I thought was driving me into unhappiness, that I thought I was unhappy about myself and in my life and in my past and all the rest of it. And then I addressed it all one by one, and it meant looking at people's viewpoints, like my mother and all my, things from my past that happened to me, and forgiving and my father and all the things that happened there, and the woman that my first love, that stabbed me, and all this stuff and all this shit that I was dwelling on and using as excuses to go back, I have to say, for excuses for my unhappiness. But they were multiplying in my brain, and they create a darkness. Unless you deal with them, they never leave you. And also resentments, or minor or big. There was stuff that I was holding on to from my childhood, from bullying, from school, but I dealt with it all. I just wrote it all down, and then I forgave them. I spoke it all out aloud. That was the way I did it. Some people go and talk to a priest. Some people, talk to, someone with higher responsibility, or the friend, even family. And also apologies and making amends is very important, as I tell you in AA as well. So deal with that stuff. You've got to deal with that stuff first. You have to deal with it. And then I look back at the stuff I did with charity work and giving back service, if you like. And I think that this is one of the bedrocks of, you won't find connection. I'll come on to connection in a minute, but you won't find anything. You won't find self-worth or self-esteem properly until you start giving back and giving love and kindness to people. And I'm not talking about going to volunteer in a soup kitchen 7 days a week. It can just be little things. If you want to go and volunteer in a cancer hospice or a homeless shelter, or with addiction, with drug addicts, giving stuff back, then that's brilliant. And you will suddenly find something else as well, which is a bedrock of recovery that I've found. I was a very selfish person, as you all are in recovery, I'm sure. I just looked after number one. But gratitude and thankfulness, I took everything for granted in my life. All the good and the wonderful things in my life, my health, everything, I took for granted. But if you give service and you give back somehow, now that can be just going online and helping people. If your thing's AA, then it'll be passing on your message to other alcoholics and addicts, which is the purpose of moving forward in that way. Going online and supporting people, making videos like this, if you like, going to volunteer, whatever you do, give your time to people. Or it could just be knocking on an old neighbour's door and showing kindness and love by asking to offer to do their shopping for them, or helping them across the road. There's millions of things. Kindness, love, not thinking of yourself, not thinking of number one. Lose that selfishness and give back, because that's what we're here for. If there's any purpose in life, it's to give back, and I've discovered this along the way with the stuff I do now, and that's sort of helping out the homeless here, but it's also doing all this sort of stuff I do and passing on my experience, because deep down, I don't want anyone else to go through what I've been through, and take heed. So you will find connection. You will find a feeling of self-worth, and that you are, and also gratitude and thankfulness you'll find from giving back and giving service. It's a bedrock of recovery. You must do it. You must lose this, and suddenly the self-love will come back. You'll think, well, I'm not such a bad twat after all, am I? I may have done some things in the past, some awful things. But you have to. But again, you can't dwell on that. You have to forgive yourself, and hope that others will forgive you by apologising if you want, but showing them is the strongest way. Earning respect, earning your dignity and self-respect and pride and in yourself, and from them back by becoming that best version of you can be. And we all have slips, and it's hard. It's not. Don't get me wrong, I'm not on a pink cloud every day. But generally, sort of 80% of the time, I am truly happy. And I've never felt that before in my life. And I actually can look at my eyes in the mirror now and have sort of a feeling of self-esteem, self-love, not obsession with myself, because I'm not, believe me, I know my limitations. But but a feeling that I'm actually doing good, I'm putting something back, I'm doing something useful, as I felt when I was looking after my children, with my wife looking after our children, supporting them, kept me sober. Service and giving back and kindness and love will take you there. And then, of course, there's connectedness. We're very disconnected in society now. We need something greater than ourselves to take away that self-obsession, if you like, that individualism, and that looking to consumerism to satisfy our needs, and all the rest of it. We need a connection with something greater, a purpose. Now, for some people, that will be, as I've said in other videos, that will be God, that will be Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, whatever it is, it will be, that is, whatever connection you find is beautiful. It's beautiful to find that connection, whatever it is, and everyone's individual. With me, it was nature, because I just believe that we are part of nature and we'll go back to nature. So the Tao Te Ching was my connection, really, and what's something called Wu Wei Wei, which is action by non-action, or the path of least resistance. And that also linked into mindfulness. I started to meditate. Won't be everyone's cup of tea, but believe me, in today's society, the stress and the pressure, the reason that we're so sick is because we don't unload cortisol anymore. Cortisol builds up in our system from stress, as you're all probably aware. It makes us ill. It makes us mentally ill. It imbalances. The imbalances in our brain are generally caused by cortisol build up and acidity in the body, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and we try and heal this with things instead of looking to the roots of the problem. So look for this connectedness, however you want to find it, that's okay, but it's important in recovery to find this connectedness, and I've learnt this along the way and picked it up probably, and it didn't happen overnight. It's probably only happened in the last 3 or 4 months properly. And it's a work in progress, and it's something I work and aspire towards every day, because you have to work on your sobriety every day. You have to be mindful of it, and because you're a human being, so you will slip, you will become selfish at some points, you will start thinking of yourself and self-obsession, all the rest of it, because you're human and it's natural, and you will have bad days and you will have dark days sometimes. But it's how you respond to that, using these methods, or a program if you want to go that way, or whatever it is. It's how you respond to it that will keep you sober. And also your happiness will grow. The feeling, the strength in mind, body and spirit, the mind-body connection, and that strength will grow and grow and grow as you go along, and you will have, if you have dark days, they'll be easier to handle, and you'll get through it, and as you do. And cravings and all that stuff become a thing of the past. It just doesn't enter your brain. Trust me, it doesn't enter your brain. But you have to recognise when you're going back down that slippery slope, down that path. If you feel yourself stopping doing certain things, or losing this connection, or ignoring, not giving service and being selfish, and etc, 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 or your diet suffers and you stop exercising, you'll recognise the signs. You need to jump on that pretty quickly and carry on working forwards to become that best version of you. So knowledge is power, and I also use something called the 4 agreements, which if you look that up on YouTube, you'll find it very interesting. And the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, never assume, don't take things personally, and always do your best. I used to take things terribly personally. I used to gossip, and so use your word impeccably, because words are powerful. So you can really hurt people with words and hurt yourself. So think about what you're saying, because words can make or break a situation. Think before you speak, in other words. Don't take things personally. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone likes these videos or watches them or finds them interesting, or if people don't like you, you can't help that. That's their issue. It's their issue. It's their stuff, their baggage. You can't. If you start taking that on board and worrying what people think about you, what you look like, what you are like, what the person you are, what they think of you it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because then you start becoming self-obsessed again. Don't take things personally. It's difficult, trust me, because I always took things personally, and it made me angry. So I've had to lose that anger, and I've had to learn to turn the other cheek. And also, and it's still a work in progress, like I say. I keep saying that, but it is. I work on it all the time, because there are times when if someone slags you off, it's difficult not to take it personally, but you have to realise it's their stuff, not yours. And never assume or judge people. That's another one, a very important agreement. You know, people, you know, you don't know what anyone's journey, you don't know what's going on. It's like a duck paddling underwater, you know, it's like, or an iceberg, if you like. A lot of what you can't see, what's going on inside people or what they've been through. Don't judge them, because, you know, people judge you in this society. They judge you for what you look like, for what you are, for what you do, for everything. You can't judge people because you don't know their lives. You don't know what they've had to go through or what they've been through. And, you know, learn a lesson from that. Don't assume. Makes an ass out of you and me, as my teacher used to say. And it does, because you'll make stories up in your head that don't exist about people and things, and so never assume. And finally, the most important thing of all, and you take this right through your whole recovery, do your best. Because you can't be angry or have self-hatred or all the rest of it if you do your best. Because even if you fail, you've done your best. And not really anything, there's no such thing as failure really in this. Because if you have days, or even if you relapse or anything, you can jump straight back on this. It's not failure, it's a learning process, always learning, always gathering knowledge, always bringing it and passing it on to other people. It's what will keep you strong and happy and sober. So, you know, always do your best. And I take that through into everything, you know. And finally, diet and exercise. You know, and there's videos, I've made individual videos about this where I'll go into my diet in great detail, and also my exercise regimes in great detail. You don't need to become totally obsessed with all this, you know, because you can become obsessed and addicted to that as well if you're not careful. But you have to realise that what you put into your body and what you give your body to do is integral to your recovery. It's the bedrock, it's the foundation of everything you do in this. And you won't be able to operate without the diet and exercise properly, because unless you're nourishing your body and your mind, you know, and you can ease mood, energy, depression, whatever you want to, you will be, if you're on a good solid diet with plenty of hydration, plenty of 6 or 7 pints of water a day or more, and a fantastic diet where you're cutting out processed foods and sugars and stuff like that, you know, and it's mostly plant. I'm on a totally plant-based diet, whole food diet. But you don't need to go to that extreme. You just need to be sensible and cut out the shit and do it slowly. And in early recovery, you're going to want to eat some chocolate bars, and there's nothing wrong with that, because, you know, you're learning still, and it's hard in early recovery until you get into this rhythm and this routine. But you have to persevere. And like what I said, just hold on and learn from other people and put your own recovery package together. And exercise, you know, exercise is the human body. We were cavemen, you know, think back to the reptilian brain and what we were designed for. We were designed not to wear clothes or be in air-conditioned luxury or you know, we were designed to feel visceral feelings, heat and cold. We were designed to be on the move nomadically all the time, hunting and gathering, and stress wasn't a thing. The stress we had was a fight or flight complex, so cortisol and other stress was used up as we hunted or were chased by other animals. And we've gone on and on as in our development, and we don't use any of this anymore, which is why the sickness we have in society now, mental and physical and spiritual, has prevailed. So you need to think back. You know, think back how important what you eat and your diet and getting rid of stress and meditation and all that sort of stuff is to recovery, and sickness and your general health. You know, look towards the Wim Hof method. Look, one of my videos on the Wim Hof method, which I do every day, and that explains that in much more detail. So that's it. That's what I wanted to pass on. I hope that some of you have related to these videos. I mean, and there's a lot of stuff I've not mentioned in my recovery package that you'll find in my other videos, but these were the things that the most, if you like, the bedrock, the pillars of my recovery. And then there are other things in my other videos as well, which I've discovered along the way, like HALT and the 5-second rule and all this sort of stuff, which you need to look back on. Subscribe and like them if you like, you know, if you want, and they're doing you any good, because more people will see them that way. Thank you. I just want to leave you with something I've said in my other videos. When I let go of who I am, I become what I might be. And this is a message. It's from the Tao Te Ching, that. And read that if you get a chance, because it is a very uplifting and spiritual book. You know, even if it's not your bag, The Nature Thing, the Tao Te Ching was something that was written 4,000 years ago. When I lose who I am, I become what I might be. And something else that Emilio Zapata once said, he was a great, he was a Mexican leader in the revolution. It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. And addiction's about living on your knees. You're bowing down to it and giving into it throughout it. And it's better to stand up, fight, and die on your feet. And it is, because we're all going that way anyway. But what's the point of hurrying that along? What's the point of living in darkness and misery for that period of time and losing everything that's close to you? Because you will lose it all. But you can get everything back, and you get so much more back in recovery, so much more. New friends, new skills, your family back. Obviously the most important thing is your family back and your friends back, but new friends, new skills, new discoveries, you know, about yourself and about other people and about life in general, stuff that you would never have dreamed of. It's an opportunity to rebuild your whole life and move forward. So whatever stage you're at, whether you're 18 watching this, you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and it doesn't matter where you are. It's never too late to achieve this and this feeling. And that's all I want to say, really. So thank you for watching these videos. I hope you found them of some use anyway. Much love to you all, and don't forget, always seize the day. Seize the day, because life is a fleeting moment of consciousness, and you know, you need to live it and not live on your knees, and light a candle into that darkness and move forward in your life. Make that change today, and if you're struggling, just hold on, because it will get better. Much love to you all. Thank you for watching.